What will VGK's defensive pairs look like this upcoming season? Our discussion next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make a lot of money the rest of this summer. Make something up right there. Okay, how will VGK's defensive pairings look on opening day? Well, the chalk play would be these pairings, right? It would be Noah Hanifin, a left-handed stick, with Alex Pietrangelo after Alec Martinez, his departure. Right now, the favorites for pairings, probably, again, chalk, would be Brady McNabb and Shea Theodore, and Nick Hague paired with Zach Whitecloud. Thoughts?
No, that's the chalk. That's definitely the chalk. There's no doubt about that. We saw Cassidy especially liked having the two number one-ish level defensemen in Pietrangelo and Hanifin together. I think especially we talked about one of the shows on last week about Pietrangelo simply slowing down a little bit. He's going to be 30. He's coming in as a 34-year-old, still averaging well over 20 minutes a game, and plays in the most stressful situations, PK1, and then obviously at the end of the game in the lockdown mode. So at some point, that's going to have to slow down. If you have Hanifin and Pietrangelo out there, you're talking a pairing that's going to average 23 minutes plus a game. That's a lot. That's a lot. Hanifin obviously can handle that probably a lot better than Pietrangelo at this stage of both of their respective careers. On that top pairing, what I would love to see happen, I don't know if it's going to or not, Pietrangelo and Theodore. I think Pietrangelo, obviously, a little more of that stay-at-home, type of defenseman. Pietrangelo still has that mobile ability to move the puck and rush and stuff like that. But Shea Theodore obviously can afford to take some more chances when you have someone like a Pietrangelo behind him.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Is Hanifin going to be this all-world defenseman? I know he's probably the favorite, too, to be the quarterback, right, on the power play unit.
How do you define an all-world defenseman?
Well, I mean, is he going to more or less come into his own and have this massive season for the Vegas Golden Knights? How much will they rely and depend on Noah Hanifin this season?
Hanifin came and pushed Shea Theodore right off the top power play unit. And Theodore's pretty good as an offensive defenseman, pretty good as a quarterback of the Vegas Golden Knights power play, and that didn't mean a lick upon Noah Hanifin's arrival. Hanifin, I believe, topped out at 48 points as a career best. I'll double check that in the next couple seconds here. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely banking on Noah Hanifin becoming the type of player who gets in that 55 to 65, maybe even 70-point level. I don't see that happening. I'm not knocking Noah Hanifin by any means. I'm simply stating in the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years of his career, 48 points is the max. Now, he's on a team that has a little better of an offensive punch, so to speak, than his days with the Gary Flames. Hanifin should take a step forward. I'm not as high on maybe as some other local media is on Hanifin. I see a lot of people really thinking Hanifin's the man. And Hanifin's a great player. Like, let's be clear about this. I am not knocking Hanifin, but I think we need to temper expectations a little bit.
And what do you think the other pairings might look like? And there's a couple of players here who could slot in at times, conceivably. So you've got Ben Hutton, a lefty. He could slot in. And then Caden Korzak, who shoots right-handed. And they could each be breaking into that six-man defensive unit, right, at times. And maybe,
for sure.
And maybe get more PT than we might imagine at the start of the season.
100%, really fast. Just back on Hanifin, and then we'll get back to the other players here. Hanifin's topped out at 48 points, 21-22 with the Flames. Outside of that, Hannafin did have 47 points collectively in the last season between the Flames and the Golden Knights. Before that, never even hit the 40-point threshold. So very high expectations for Hannafin. You talked about Korzak and Ben Hutton. That's your number 7 and number 8 defenseman, unless something does happen with a Shea Theodore or a Braden McNabb prior to next season. I don't think it's going to happen at this point. 2 really good defensemen to have as 7 and 8. I don't see, as long as the top 6 are playing well, I don't see too many opportunities for Korzak and Hutton outside of injuries. Now, Zach Whitecloud. Whitecloud did not have anywhere near a season like he had in his previous seasons with the Vegas Golden Knights. So if there's someone who can, who you're looking at as low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better term, Whitecloud could definitely be who draws out in just healthy scratch situations. Hopefully it's not the case. The Golden Knights need that stability in the third defensive pairing with Zach Whitecloud. You asked about other defensive pairings. I would love to see the second pairing. Second pairing would be, what do I like? Noah Hannafin and who? Why am I drawing a blank on the other person? Who would I like? Not McNabb. Oh, Haig. Hannafin and Haig. Sorry, it's Monday morning. Hannafin and Haig. Those two had plenty of success when Pietrangelo was out last season. I would love to see Hannafin and Haig together. Kind of the same logic as the top pairing of Pietrangelo and Theodore. Hannafin is the mobile puck-moving defenseman. Great transitional skater, gets up and down the ice as quick or quicker than any other defenseman pretty much in the National Hockey League, outside of like your Cale Makars and players like that. Nick Hague, stay at home, get the job done, very tough to play against. I love the balance of that as the second units.
And so then on the third unit, you would put Brady McNabb with Whitecloud?
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
So why do you want to switch things up there? And do you really believe that will be the opening day with Petro and Theo? Do you think that will be the opening day combination there for the Blue Liners?
I think there's a chance. I think I know Cassidy likes to have that familiarity and things like that, and players that have played together and stuff like that. I think the big picture needs to be respected a little bit here, in the sense that, like we said, Pietrangelo's 34 years old. If you pair up him with Hannafin, 25 minutes a game, you might see 25 minutes a game. And how much longer can Pietrangelo take of that? I mean, Pietrangelo still has a bunch. He's still got 3 more seasons under contract, going to be 36, 37 years old by the time his contract expires. And you have to look at the long game a little bit here. You can't just drain him. We talked, how many times last year during the season did we talk about Pietrangelo getting beaten at the blue line, turning the puck over, just not looking like himself? So do I think my pairings are going to be how the team lines up? I think there's a chance. You saw success with Hannafin and Haig, number 1. So I think that's what's working for me. I think the Golden Knights are going to want to see Shea Theodore get back to himself. Whether it was Noah Hannafin's arrival or not, the reality is that Shea Theodore's offensive output dropped dramatically from a point per game pace to a point in 70% of his games. Admittedly, we're talking 22 and 20 game sample sizes on both sides of that. But again, the fact, it's not just about the output for Shea Theodore, it's about the fact that Noah Hannafin pushed Shea Theodore right out of the lineup, so to speak. And I mean, I think I went as far as even saying that Shea Theodore is now an expendable piece for the Vegas Golden Knights defenseman as a result of Noah Hannafin's arrival. Not because I think Shea Theodore is not that good of a defenseman by any means. That's not the case. I'm very high on Shea Theodore, but I think the coaching staff, front office, looks at Theodore much differently now that Noah Hannafin is a Vegas Golden Knight.
And no doubt about that. And I know it's difficult to keep Pietrangelo off of the ice, but I am going to probably take Hannafin plus 20 seconds, plus 20 seconds. I'll take plus 20 seconds, as far as they're going to divvy up the
Where's
time.
The hook, Tony? 20 seconds and a hook, right? Got to be a hook.
Yes.
That's
0.005. Because Olympics and the way it's so competitive. But the way that I'm thinking here is that I think that they're going to try to balance the playing time a little bit more with Pietrangelo and Hannafin. And I would not be surprised if they don't play equal time.
That's exactly the foundation of my defensive pairings. You have one mobile puck moving defenseman. You have one kind of stay at home defenseman on each of the lines right there. You can always load up. When the playoffs come, that's a different story, obviously. I'm not saying you just go and change everything up, but situations can change things. I think the Golden Knights, it's really important. Mark Stone said this perfectly. The Golden Knights can't find themselves as a number 8 seed having to go against the best team right out of the chute. I do think the Golden Knights could have had a better outcome if they could have avoided the Dallas Stars in the first round last year. I mean, I think would they have beaten the Edmonton Oilers in the first round if that game against Anaheim would have been different? Who knows? It's not worth going up and back about that. But the Golden Knights were not that far from being a team that could have made a run, at least a deeper run in the Western Conference. So just keeping the players, trying to extend the season a little bit, trying to avoid injuries, keep them off the ice. That's how you do it. I'm not saying bench Pietrangelo, but 19, 20 minutes a game versus 22, 23 minutes a game, that's a big deal in the grand scheme of things. It really is.
And so you're saying that with baby Theo on the way next month, that Shea Theodore staying put, you think he'll be here opening day? It's looking more likely.
It's August 5th. I think that if something was going to happen, I think it probably would have happened by now. That said, come early September, once the GMs really, get back into the offices and really start digging in, and obviously once the camps start, that could change a lot of things too, as teams are identifying areas of weakness and opportunity. I'll say this again. I know I've dogged Shea Theodore so much, but I'm excited for Shea Theodore next season. I really want to see, for lack of a better term, he'll never say it, but I really want to see what a pissed off version of Shea Theodore looks like coming into camp with a chip on his shoulder, coming into camp wanting to reclaim his spot on the top power play unit, wanting to remind everyone that no, he's not an expendable piece of this lineup. It's almost that misfit mentality all over again for someone who is a misfit. Shea Theodore, like it or not, has something to prove coming into this season, and I think that's going to help the Golden Knights and help Shea Theodore. Whether it's his next contract is, stay tuned for segment 2, whether his next contract is in Vegas or elsewhere. You like that? Getting better.
Yeah, you always try to do that segue thing. Sometimes it works. Okay, so coming up next, we project which Golden Knights player will be the first to be extended in a contract year. We'll get to that when we return right here. I'm waking up now. We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. We are driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match. And you can do that with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you to find quality candidates and really fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you to hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to recent Indeed surveys. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Go to Indeed.com/locked-on. Of course, Indeed.com/locked-on. And in the minute that we've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Go to Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick, the early morning birds here. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. And please make sure that you subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. I've been heading out to the UNLV football practice facility every day, so that's been kind of fun. A lot of
buzz right now about them. A lot of buzz.
Yeah, a lot of cramping too. And I'm not talking about the players, the media members. A lot of cramping on the sidelines there, and the hand writing and stuff so much. But yeah, I came out firing my questions. Someone got mad at me. Okay, so there's just, again, off topic as usual. There's a couple of really good quarterbacks there in camp.
Oh, I saw that. This was good. I saw this.
And I asked the coach, the first question of the spring camp was by yours truly. I said, Coach, what do you think about a 2 quarterback system? And I got a lot of flack for asking that question. And first off, people were like, why is that the first question of the fall camp? Well, everyone's going to ask about the timeline and when will they make a decision on the starting QB. So we've got a 2 QB system right here. And I think it works, well, sometimes, most of the time on our show. Don't forget Fridays, WTF, Saturdays, the Chris times Chris Jr. show, sometimes. Okay, some ideas here for VGK players to receive a contract extension. You have to, I think, first and foremost, start off with the goaltenders. And I believe that Samsonov, if he has a pretty good season going by, you'll like this one, by American Thanksgiving, then they could maybe re-up him there. He's only making, it's a 1-year deal times 1.18. Aiden Hill, they are going to
1.8, but yeah.
1.8, right. Aiden Hill, they're going to drag that poor fella out till the end of the season, milk him bone dry, even if he has a fantastic season. Because what's his next contract going to be if he's making $5 million right now? I mean, I'll look for 6, what have you. So I think they're going to start with goaltending. And to me, the favorite by American Thanksgiving, I don't know, will be Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah, I mean, listen, maybe there's a path where the 25-26 Golden Knights are led by Samsonov and Akira Schmid. I mean, that's kind of weird to say it like that, but maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe Schmid is the man coming 25-26. Young goalie, obviously a lot to look forward to. Of the 2 goalies, I would take between Samsonov and Hill, I would take Samsonov to get that extension. Hill, I mean, Golden Knights are in a tough spot with Hill either way, right? If Hill falters and only plays between 30 and 37 regular season games, and just like last season, he looks really good when he's healthy, but when he's not healthy and recovering and can't stay on the ice, it's obviously bad for the Golden Knights. So if he has that type of season, the Golden Knights are going to struggle a little bit, and you hope Samsonov and Akira Schmid can pick up the pieces. If they pick up the pieces, fine, no problem, no big deal. If it's kind of like last season where, the team is flirting with the playoff spot 6, 7, 8 seed, that's a tough spot for the Golden Knights. If Aiden Hill comes out and crushes it and just does amazing, and he certainly has shown that capability, now, like you said, he's going to want 5.5 and to 6.5. Aiden Hill will be a 29-year-old free agent next year, so still plenty of time left. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is 10 years older, still performing right now. So Aiden Hill is going to be looking for that 3 to 5 year bag, probably in the 20 to 22, $23 million range. I don't see the Golden Knights wanting to pay any goalie that type of money right now, especially Aiden Hill. No disrespect on him, just acknowledging the reality of his reliability.
Well, and plus we know this organization, and they're going to want to see how he plays. And then if he's just mid, right, for this season,
if he's just mid, they're going to sign him.
They're going to sign him. They will
sign him. They're going to say 3.5 times 3, take it or leave it.
There's no doubt, and they're going to lowball him, and they're going to ask him for a team friendly sort of a contract. And then you've got Victor Olofsson. He's coming in on the cheap in a prove it year, $1.075 million. And if he plays just again well enough, I think they could extend him in the season because they don't want him to go out there in the free agency market. Shea Theodore, no. They're talking about an $8 million bag for Theodore, perhaps, if he has a good season, and VGK will not pay that.
No, like a $50 million contract. And I'm not saying Shea Theodore is not worth it. I don't think he's worth it to the Golden Knights. You can't have an $8 million defenseman, a $7 million defenseman, and another $8 million defenseman. It just doesn't pencil.
No, and especially at the stage that they will be at following this season of their careers, right? I mean, think about that too. And then Nick Hague, is he a UFA?
He's RFA, but I think they treat him like a UFA, and I think the team really is going to try and lock up Hague for a long time. Well, he's a 20, going to
Played
be a
73
26-year-old.
games, right, this past season. So, and yeah, his projections for his next contract, maybe $1 million more. So they could definitely fit that in under the
If they
cap.
can get him in any number that starts with a 3 for 5-6 years, that's remarkable. But I don't
I
think.
think
I
the
think he wants
projections
more.
were 3.87. 3.87
I
when we
think he
had
looks
that
for more.
projection
I think
list.
he's right.
Yeah, when we had that projection list. Yeah. And then Braden McNabb, you cut out there for a second.
Oh.
Okay, there, you're back.
Hi.
Brady McNabb, right? He's a UFA.
Braden McNabb is a UFA, currently making 2.85. Shea Theodore 5.2. On the forward side, Brett Howden 1.9.
What do you think about Howden? Do you think?
What do I think about Howden? I think you need players like Howden on your roster. Every team needs 2 or 3 Brett Howdens. It's not fun to watch at times, but he's gritty. He can play center. He can play wing. He's carved this strange spot, especially he had his own line. There you go, Tony. That was for you.
Thank you.
With Stevenson and Mark Stone. So it's a strange role that he has. And again, in coming up in a season where there's so many moving parts with players leaving, younger players coming in, Cassidy doesn't like trusting the younger players. It's just what his nature is. It's earn your stripes and stuff. Well, Howden has earned his stripes. He's been in the National Hockey League now for 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been. He's a 26-year-old right now, and he earns the trust. He has the trust of Coach Cassidy. Win your races, win your battles. Howden does both of those things. Howden doesn't take any shifts off. Not to compare him to Cotter necessarily, but I'm going to compare him to Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter, took some shifts off. He had some, I don't know if guilty games is the way to say it, but Paul Cotter, just some shifts he had it, some shifts he didn't. Brett Howden, whether the results are there or not, the effort is always apparent with Brett Howden. So I could see Brett Howden possibly getting, of all these players that we talked about, I could see actually Howden getting the next extension. It won't be a long one. It might be 2 or 3 years at, $2 million per, something like that. But I'm going to take Braden McNabb. I think of all the UFAs, I think the team is going to try and secure Braden McNabb for another 3 years. Take him up to age 37. That's a reasonable spot for a defenseman. McNabb currently is a 2.85. How much more can McNabb look for? 3.5 times 3, give him a $10 million deal for 3 years. I mean, I don't see him getting $4 or $5 million, but three times 3 or 3.33 times 3, give him a $10 million bag and call it done.
And then isn't Keegan Colasar a UFA?
Colasar is UFA, currently making 1.4. I think the team finds a way to keep him in that ballpark.
They try to keep him there.
I think they keep him. I think so.
Okay.
He's got a role. He has a carved out role on that fourth
season.
line.
They did not perform line 4 as well as they did in the Cup season.
No, and that's fair. But I think you have 2/3 of that line pretty much set in Nick Watt and Keegan Colasar. And who are you going to replace Colasar with as far as that type of energy and hitting and willingness to fight? Not saying he wins all his fights, but willingness to fight for his team.
Doesn't win all his fights. Doesn't win any of his fights.
That's also fair. He's probably
Everyone's used to that uppercut, man. He's got to change that. Yeah, he's got to change the uppercut mentality.
More body blows. He's good. Those body shots, more body shots.
Where they're wearing padding. Come on, man.
Well, there's a couple. There's some soft spots down there, right in the tummy. There's no padding down there.
Okay. So the biggest question here, I'm going to go with Samsonov, number 1. Biggest question will be, by American Thanksgiving, do you think that there will be an extension on the table? I say yes. And you're going to go with Howden or McNabb?
I'll go with McNabb. With McNabb.
You're leaning Howden there for a little bit. Okay, so
I think Howden definitely gets extended, but I think McNabb, is the first.
McNabb first. You think early in the season?
I think so. I think McNabb sometime by before American Thanksgiving, and you just got to wonder, Tony, with the Marchessault Hannafin situation last year, where Hannafin gets the extension during a time in which the team does not offer extensions.
They don't offer
playoff
extensions
runs
there. No.
If Samsonov does get extended in the regular season before Aiden Hill,
they're gonna and that is typical of this organization, right? They'll do that to maybe motivate Hill or tell him he's on his way out.
No, let's tell him on his way out. And I
endeavors.
don't think they do this to
Future
motivate.
endeavors.
I think there's a brutal honesty about the way McCrimmon does his business, and at times I love it. At times I've absolutely adored the way McCrimmon
That's your
does his
guy,
business.
man.
I
Yeah.
did not enjoy the March so handling, and every time we bring that up, yeah.
Okay. Coming up next, Jack Eichel tells NHL Network that he wants to be an Olympian for Team USA. We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every single day, all summer long. And as we know, the heat has returned here, and there is plenty of summer left here in Vegas and, of course, around the US of A and wherever you get FanDuel. And a lot of football activity going on right now, a lot of futures bets and some props for this upcoming season. You need to check it out on FanDuel. Also, you could bet on the Olympic Games, so check it out right there at FanDuel. Head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you could get the most out of the rest of this summer. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And of course, it's the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, of course. Please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. Fridays are WTF. Saturday, it is the Sometimes Chris and Chris Jr. show, which will make a triumphant return, I believe, here, probably within the next month. So when do the kiddos go back to school? Is it this week already?
It's kind of. Friday is like meet the teacher day, and then Monday.
Wait. On a Friday, they're going to go meet the teachers. The school schedule here, it's rigged. It's absolutely rigged.
It is. It's too early. I mean, what sucks
is too early, number one, and then you they're going into the weekend for crying out loud, and we got to do something on a Friday.
They'll be okay,
Meet the
Tony.
teachers
They'll be
Monday,
okay for that.
Tuesday, go back to school.
What gets me is the recess for the first, 3-4 weeks is just, the kids are out there on a blacktop. They don't know any better. They're getting out there having fun, just, getting dehydrated and warm and all that for the first few weeks. I really wished it would be much closer to the end of August, but whatever.
I think it should be after Labor Day personally.
Yeah.
And these are many of the schools still antiquated, the air conditioning non-existent. It's just, come on. And then they wonder why we don't rank up very high. Take care of the kiddos. Okay. Jack Eichel, NHL Network over the weekend. He was asked about how much it would mean to represent Team USA in the 2026 Olympic Games. And he said that he's represented the U.S. in the World Juniors and in the World Championships. And Eichel said playing in the Olympics has been a dream for him ever since he put on the USA sweater. And he said having that opportunity would be incredible. He also added that he's been watching the Summer Olympics and he is caught up. So what do you think he's watching in the Summer Olympics? He doesn't really strike me as a gymnastics guy, not a gymnastics guy.
Swimming?
Maybe the swimming. Maybe the
Soccer?
swimming. A little soccer. I think he's a table tennis guy, to be honest.
I mean, listen, what athlete doesn't want to represent their country? And I mean, I know I have my concerns about in-season play and stuff like that as far as tournaments and everything, but it is what it is. I mean, the Olympics aren't going to change their schedule for the National Hockey League. So National Hockey League and fans like me are going to have to just deal with it. And I know, just like for myself, like when you watch a team, doesn't matter what the sport is, we watch a team win a championship. It's exciting to see. You stop, you watch the celebration, you see how the trophy gets handed around and stuff like that. But when you're watching either a team or an individual or a small group, however it may have you, celebrate a gold medal and watching, listening to the national anthem play and the flag going up to the rafters and everything, that hits you a lot differently. And I'm sure to a degree, at least, that's certainly how the players feel. And remember, how long has it been since the Team USA has had international representation from NHL players? Are we going back like to 2016?
Yeah.
Are we going back that far?
I think so. Yeah. I can't recall the last time. It has to
I know
be.
the Crosby goal, the golden goal that gave Team Canada the Olympic gold, and I think we're going back to 2012 for that, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, and you do look at players who are starting to get a little bit older who are going to get that chance, like a McDavid. I mean, 4 years from now, we don't know what McDavid's going to be like, but obviously right now we know McDavid is good enough to play in the Olympic stage, to say the least. Same with a Jack Eichel, and then some of the older players as well. So I think it's good. It's going to be fun to watch, and obviously it starts with the Four Nations face-off in February, and then a year after that, boom, here we go.
I found my sport. It is kayak cross. So they drop like four kayaks.
They drop them.
Kayaks. They drop them, but then it's full contact and game on. So you could, slashing is allowed, like unlike the NHL, which it should be permissible. They have, like, you can hit each other with the sticks with your paddles there, and then of course you can bump each other. I like a little forearm shiver. Guys are missing, the gates. That's tremendous. For
I haven't watched that. I know so when I've been in up in Reno a few times for the bowling tournament, and they have something like that set up in whatever the river
on the bowling lanes.
No, for my bowling tournaments, there's something, whatever the river is that cuts through Reno. There's like a kayaking thing set up there, like they've done it before. Would that be for like when they did like the Tahoe Olympics? Would that be like what they used a long time ago? I don't know. Where are they going to do that?
They definitely, for LA in the opening ceremonies, they definitely need to have a car chase, a police chase. I think that would be kind of
car
cool.
Chases. Like you're on the weirdest tag list for people.
I watched one for 2 hours last night. It's so entertaining. I do want to point out, of course, again, always off topic, a couple of locals, guys that I know that are doing a tremendous job. They did do a really good job, at least Connor Fields did in BMX. He was the analyst. That was cool. Connor Fields is a good dude here locally. BMX guy, got injured in the last Olympics, really scary injury, but he came back, and now as an analyst, he was superb. And then Ronnie Baldonado, good friend of mine and a guy that I secured corporate sponsorship for as a breakdancer, will be the analyst this week on breakdancing. So breakdancing to you, sport or dance? What would you say it is? Is breakdancing a sport, or is it dancing?
I mean, it has dancing in the title, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Well, that was my argument.
No disrespect. Listen, if it's an Olympic sport,
it's
good for those guys. But if I'm categorizing it, I'm not categorizing it as.
Wait till you say it. It's tremendous. There was nothing like it. It's a really good dancing event.
Bowling is a sport and not in the Olympics because they don't like the scoring of bowling for some weird reason, and breakdancing is.
If they had bowling in the Olympics, couldn't you be like putting back a couple of cold ones as you're bowling? If this were an Olympic sport,
that's the only way you can bowl.
Would that be
if
allowed?
I'm not drinking when I'm bowling, if I'm not drinking and gambling and getting in an argument with some schmuck 3 lanes over because he carried a terrible Brooklyn strike, then it ain't bowling.
No, that's not bowling. Okay. Oh, and I want to point out, back to Eichel, damage control. The tour continues. The damage control tour continues. Eichel, in that same NHL Network interview, just spewing. It was so rigged. It was a setup question about how great this organization is to play for.
It's such a positive show, and then you get to 33-30, and it's all going to go downhill. Here we go.
From Bill Foley to the equipment manager, it's just it is a hug fest, man.
It was listen. That was fluff. It was fluff, no doubt. Stage fluff, whatever terminology you want to use. And listen, there's a lot of people who
you can interview Eichel, but you have to ask the question about how terrific our organization is when they've got all sorts of issues right now, post Jonathan Marchessault.
And listen, there's a lot of people in the organization who are taken care of very greatly. Let's be clear about this. Starting with an Eichel, a Mark Stone, a Pietrangelo, Noah Hannafin.
I'd be hugging them too for $10 million.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then obviously there's what happened in the last offseason where we talked about in a segment last week about players, willing to possibly take team-friendly deals for the greater good, shave off $500,000 or $1 million here and there, and maybe they find a way to stay. No one for the Vegas Golden Knights. Marchessault, I think, would have, but they couldn't come on the tournament. Whatever, fine, we're done with that. But I don't think anyone is going to do anything for the Golden Knights as far as, want me to take $500,000 less per season on a 6-year deal, $3 million less? No, I'll take that money and go elsewhere. I don't see anyone doing the Vegas Golden Knights internally, players doing any favors because of what's happened. And that's just what the environment, what the culture is. Players are going to use the Golden Knights for the money, that they're going to go elsewhere. I don't think there is that same loyalty to keep the band together. Tony's segment last week, to keep the band together. Now, Leon Draisaitl, Edmonton Oilers, we're going to see. There's a lot of chatter about him maybe taking, I don't know what a team-friendly deal is for someone who's going to make over 10 million AAV, but I mean, I'm curious how that plays out right there.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. But
in 2 years, is Eichel going to say, okay, I'll take 8.5 instead of 11.2? I don't think so.
We'll see the continuance of this damage control tour. Definitely. We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers. Of course, don't forget Fridays, WTF, Saturdays, sometimes the Chris and Chris Jr. show. Please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel from my man, Chris Golick. I'm Tony Cardasco. We had nothing to talk about. Again, we go 5 minutes over. From my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you again next time right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.